This conference will now be recorded.
Since there is no chair, I call this meeting to order. Member Bingham,
Hello, I'm here.
Member Cody,
Present.
Member Hinton notified us that he'll be here very shortly. Member Joa, here. Member Sloat, here. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands,
One nation,
one under God, indivisible,
liberty, and justice.
liberty, and justice for all.
Just for the record, Bruce Hinton has arrived. From November 9th, 2016. Is there any public Is there any member comments? And if there is not, I would accept a motion and a second to adopt the minutes. That was a motion by Member Sloat and a seconded by Member Hinton. All in favor?
Aye.
Betty?
I
Okay, motion moved. We are now moving to item number 5. Oh, that's item number 4, selection of chair. Is there any public comment? All right, there's no public comment. I'd like to nominate Robert Sloat.
And if we can, it would just be a motion to have Robert Sloat as the chair.
Yes, you guys can discuss it beforehand, but to adopt will be a motion.
Right.
Okay.
And then if that motion gets 3 votes, then there's no other nominations or anything. That's it.
Okay.
Just so everyone understands. Sure. Sorry about that. As far as selecting chair and vice chair, there'll be a motion to select somebody will make a motion and state someone's name. If there's a second, then there'll be a vote on that. If that vote gets a majority of the members to approve that motion, then that person is the chair, and then the same process will be followed for vice chair. Just like a regular motion would be on, as far as any business you conduct.
Okay, then I like it. I can make a motion to approve select Robert Sloat. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There was a motion by Member Joa to select Dr. Sloat as chair, and as a second by Member Bingham.
You may want to call the roll on this.
Exactly.
Okay?
Member Bingham,
Aye.
Member Cody,
Nay.
Member Nathan. Aye. Member Joa. Aye. Member Sloat. Aye. Okay, due to majority, the motion passes. You are now chair, so you continue presiding over the meeting.
Number 5, we need a vice chair.
Yes.
Please accept the motion for vice chair. Is there a motion for vice chair?
How about Ms. Joa?
I didn't hear that. Who was nominated?
So, Member Hinton nominated Marion Cody as the vice chair, seconded by Chair Sloat.
Ah.
Okay,
Hmm.
so let's do Member Bingham? Member Bingham,
Yeah.
are you for or against the motion?
Aye.
Member Cody?
Aye.
Member Hinton?
Aye.
Member Joa? Aye. Member Sloat?
Aye.
That passed unanimously.
Okay. Item number 5, variance request.
I can't hear.
This is ridiculous.
We have item number 5, we have a vice chair. Item number 6. I call your attention to the agenda item 5, variance request for 127 Garden Drive.
An application submitted by Ross Bloom as owner for a parcel of property located at 127 Marlin Drive, Ocean Ridge, Florida, 33435, requesting a variance from the provisions of the Land Development Code, Chapter 64 zoning, Article 1, District Regulations, Section 64-1, RSF and RSE, Single Family Residential District, subsection J2C, RSF, Single Family Residential Property Development Regulations, to permit relief from the 20-feet setback requirement for the side corner on the southeast side of the property for the proposed addition. A corner side setback of 10 feet, 11.5 inches will exist on the property if approved. Additionally, a variance is being requested to allow the garage structure to maintain its existing interior dimensions when constructing the addition. The property is located at 127 Marlin Drive and legally described as McCormick Mile at 1 lot 127. The fees have all been paid. And now I will read the comments received from owners within 300 feet of the property. The following is from Devin Coughlin, 80 Island Drive South. Dear Board of Adjustment, my wife and I are the owners of 80 Island Drive South, the property directly east of the applicant lot and the property most impacted by the request for a variance relating to the town code side setback provision. We do not feel it is our place to instruct the board on the challenging requirements established by the town code for obtaining a variance, or whether they have been met by the present application. Rather, our concern centers on the scope of the variance if granted. What restrictions will be placed upon it, and whether the variance would apply to any future construction on the property at issue. Especially, if granted, the variance would allow an exception from the town code side setback provision for the specific structure depicted in the plan presented. We would object to any extension of such a variance to any future construction on the property. Any efforts to further expand the structure beyond the proposed plans and any application of the variance in the future to allow for a two-story structure on the property with a side setback of less than the required 20 feet. Should you determine that the requirement for obtaining a variance has been met in this case, we request that you strictly limit the application of the variance to the present proposed project and clarify that it does not apply to any future construction on the property and does not permit construction of any two-story structure, expansion, or addition without meeting the 20-foot side setback requirement. Thank you for your consideration. I was also contacted by Charles Bailey, owner of 126 Marlin Drive, He called on August 12, 2020, and after reviewing the application, he amended his public comment to state that he had no objections to the proposed project. I also spoke with Mr. Hansing, owner of 114 Marlin Drive. He reviewed plans at Town Hall on August 5, 2020, and stated that he had no objections to the proposed project.
And Mr. Chair, I don't know, I guess, Carla, do you have the ex parte and the, okay, sorry, thank you.
This time, any ex parte communication should either be disclosed by identifying the subject of the communication and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, or any correspondence provided to the town clerk and made part of the public record. In addition, each member of the board may identify the existence of any investigations or site visits he or she has conducted, or express any opinions received in disclosing any conflicts of interest on this matter. Any member of the commission wish to speak?
I do. I spoke with, the applicant briefly on Monday. Property is out in, contact with.
I'm not hearing you. Hello?
Oh, Betty, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
This is Polly. I said that, I had a brief communication on Monday with the applicant seeking permission to visit the property. And I visited the site yesterday without any, contact with anyone.
Okay.
Room for public comment?
Not yet, no.
The other member wish. In reviewing the application.
We're only disclosing if you had any ex parte with any applicants or,
Yeah.
so if you haven't, just please, just say no, so that way we can get it on the record that every other member. Mary Ann or, member Bingham, did you guys have any ex parte communications with the applicant?
I did not. This is Mary Ann Cody.
Member Bingham, did you have any ex parte communication?
I did not.
I did not. Ready to proceed with hearing on this matter? Will the town clerk please swear in the witness?
Will anybody wishing to speak on this item, please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? When you come forward, please state your name and address clearly for the record and whether or not you have been sworn in. And please speak directly to the microphone. Before that.
All right.
We have to go over the justification for the applicant.
No.
Well, Barry, is there a special condition or circumstance that exists with this which is particular to this land structure or building involved, and which are not applicable to other land structures or buildings in the same zoning district?
Statement from the applicant. Being a corner lots or irregular setback lines are common only to certain interior corner lots. The irregular lot lines would allow for an addition at same location. Only it would need to be a series of 3 projections to stay within the setbacks, creating various projections with several roof lines which have an adverse effect on the existing architectural integrity of the home. The existing ranch style / Polynesian influence roof of the home currently has only a few low slope roof lines.
The special condition and circumstances do not result from actions of the applicant.
The applicant stated, the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant.
That granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by the zoning ordinance to other lands, buildings, or structures in the same zoning district.
The applicant stated, generally speaking, all of the RSS properties may have a maximum floor area under roof of 36% of the total lot area. The applicant is requesting with this area an increase of 6%. Currently, the home lot coverage is plus or minus 20%. The total of a lot coverage with a variance requested will be a total of 26% maximum lot coverage. We will have randomly selected a few homes near the project to clarify existing conditions. Property at 116 Marlin Drive, 33% max lot coverage provided. Property at 123 Marlin Drive, 20% max lot coverage provided. Property at 125 Marlin Drive, 33 max lot coverage provided. Property at 126 Marlin Drive, 24 max lot coverage provided. Property at 129 Island Drive, 24 max lot coverage provided. As you can see, the applicant's request is not unreasonable when compared to similarities in the neighborhood properties, when considering their maximum lot coverage provided. All information was provided by Palm Beach County property appraiser and should be considered accurate guidance.
That literal interpretation of the provisions of the ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of the ordinance, and would work unnecessary and undue hardship on the applicant.
The applicant stated, the location chosen for the master suite addition is the most logical and really the only option on the property feasible. As far as the interior layout, the east side is the only location a bedroom addition can be worked into the existing layout effectively. Also, there is an ample available undeveloped area / green space on the east side of the home. The applicant is seeking relief from the 20 feet corner setback at the front southeast corner of the master suite addition. At this location, the setback requested would be 10 feet, 11.5 inches, allowing a total of only 111 square feet to provide over the existing 20 feet side corner setback. Please see the site plan provided. The setbacks are clearly marked for illustration.
That the variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure.
Statement by the applicant. The size of the rooms being added are comparable to others in this home and in nearby renovated properties. The applicant feels it is a reasonable and needed request.
That the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the ordinance.
Statement by the applicant. Granting this variance is in harmony with the general intent of the ordinance by maintaining the architectural integrity of the existing structure by design, style, and by height. The project is less evasive and not overbearing. It is felt that a 2-story structure at this location would overwhelm the home as it is now. In addition, with similar style and shape roof lines to what is existing, is preferable. In addition, with competing roof lines and/or adding a second story would be less sustainable and unnecessary, requiring a much more intensive project to complete.
That the variance will not be injurious to the land, to the area involved, or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare.
Statement by the applicant. The proposed setback encroachment shall be injurious for the area or detrimental, have not been injurious for the area or detrimental to the public welfare. The property is very well landscaped, which will be maintained throughout the project. The property after the addition will still be well maximum lot coverage. A single-story addition is generally preferred by adjacent existing neighbors.
The town staff will now make its presentation of this matter.
Good morning, Chair, Board of Adjustments, Cory O'Gorman, Town Planner. I think the discussion thus far has hit the highlights of the application. We're happy to answer any questions if you have any of the staff. This is, of course, an application for a variance from the side street setback for an addition to the existing home, as well as a variance from the interior dimension of the garage space as an existing nonconformity. No increase to the nonconformity is permitted without a variance. And the addition of a bedroom would add the requirement for additional parking and thus increase the nonconformity. The application, or the applicant rather, has provided justification for the variance, which was read into the record, and once again, happy to try to answer any questions.
I have a question. Is this the only place they could put this bedroom?
We're not in the, commissioner.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, you can, I mean, you want Betty to get, yes, I mean, if any board members has any questions of staff, you can go ahead and ask those questions now if you so wish, and then the applicant, I imagine, will give their presentation after this.
Okay, I'll wait.
Other questions? I do have a question. Due to the age of the existing structure on the property, time it was built compared to the current requirements now of flood level elevation, I understand the existing building approximately 2.5 feet below current levels that are necessary. By an addition of this number of square feet to the existing structure at the same level, I understand that it puts the town possible odds with maintaining our flood insurance. Do you have any comment?
My understanding is that the code evaluates the addition relative to the value of the construction and the value of the existing improvements, and that the value of the addition doesn't exceed the threshold in the code requiring an increase in the finished floor elevation.
That's interesting.
Looking at the plan, the bedroom, a sitting room, and a bathroom. What is the purpose of that middle sitting room? Why was it approved if it's just going to be a bedroom?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure I can answer the question of the purpose. I think that may be a question for the applicant.
Okay, I will ask the applicant because I'd like to.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay, the applicant will now make his presentation of this matter.
Please just go to the podium.
My name is Sylvie Acock, and I am here on behalf of the applicant. Address Southeast Asian. This is Pascal. Basically, they are read to, the entire presentation. I just need to correct, one thing. It was under 9 that such variance will not be injurious to the area involved or otherwise detrimental to public welfare. And our state says the proposed setback includes, not be injurious for the area determined or detrimental to public welfare. And also, the property is very well landscaped, will be project. The property after the addition will still be well below the maximum lot coverage allowed. They left out the word. And then the rest of that sentence was there, by addition is generally preferred by adjacent. So his, they are, the Flynn family is currently expanding. They'll be having their 4th child, I believe it's October 1st. The reasoning behind this is they need another bedroom, so a master suite would be the obvious, when a new bedroom is provided. The ample area provided on this site is only on the east side. To answer one of the board members' questions, there is no other place they can effectively expand the household unless it were to be.
Just to remind the applicant, please make sure to speak really close because there's some people virtually that can't hear too well.
Thank you. Someone other's question, yes, there is a study room. There's a sleeping room, a studying room in between the bathroom and the closet. That's simply the owner's choice. I guess it could be one large bedroom. But that's the choice so that, during the next few months or whatnot, that, either the baby can be cared for in the other room or his schedule is much different than his wife's. He can get ready in the morning without, disrupting mother and child in the other room. And it's also a common feature in many, houses now. Have different segments to mattress. Not sure if that answered the board member's question. So, because you have all the information you have, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
No questions? Okay, the other person wishing to.
I have some questions for the applicant.
That he wants to ask a question to the applicant.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. You bought the house 2 years ago, and it has 3 bedrooms, master bedroom and 2 other bedrooms. And this soon you want to have our ordinance, or at least the forgiveness of our ordinance, for what I would consider larger than a necessary bedroom. Is there any reason for it?
No, according to our studies, it's, very comparable to other master suites being built at this time. And there is a need for another bedroom. Due to the way that your code is set up also, they will not be able to put another bedroom at any future time because there would not be enough parking available on the site.
Is this a new situation since you bought the house?
Can you repeat that, please?
He asked if this is a new situation.
No, it's just a new bedroom. They have a new addition to their family coming, so in order for everyone to have their own room, there would need to be another bedroom built at the house.
Is this the only place or the only way you could put another bedroom on? There is a reason for our setbacks And also, there used to be high-load hedges. One, so we could keep the ambience of the town. Two, so that there was adequate flow of air from east to west, from the ocean to then the waterway, and the waterway to the ocean. And if we start doing away with our setbacks, we're going to do away with some of the circulation of air and also permeable land.
Carla, can you repeat what she said?
I beg your pardon? I can't hear you.
Can you question one more time, please?
This will answer her question. So the property, lines be, somewhat straighter on this particular lot, there would be no issue with this bedroom protruding into the setback, and we're not asking to go along the whole setback, only at the front corner of the house. Generally, a side street corner setback would not affect the front of the house. However, in the case of this house's layout, it does. And it's only 111 square feet that will be protruding into the setback, not the entirety of the house. And as we heard by another person in the town who had comments, called into Carla earlier, they are less accepting of a two-story house, but have no issues with a one-story addition.
Any other questions? My question was, what about that? Please explain that middle room or,
What the middle room is they're dividing the bedroom in order to have some type of privacy. Mr. Bloom, wakes up extremely early and his wife will be in the other room. So in order for him to get ready or prepare or do whatever, we divided the room into two parts so that the setting area can be closed off from the sleeping area.
any other comments? Any other questions? At this time, any member of the public who wishes to submit relevant information to the town commission may come forward and speak for a maximum of 3 minutes each. Please indicate whether you are for or against the project or neither for or against the project.
Morning, it's Jay Walshine, and I own two homes in close proximity. One is 81 Island Drive South, which is directly across from their home, and the second is 119 Marlin Drive, which is 6 houses down. I am familiar with Devin Coughlin, who does live adjacent to me. I'm also very familiar with Bill Hebding and Mr. Bailey, who Bill Hebding is across from me, and Mr. Bailey is one house to the left. Mr. Ross Bloom was requesting the variance. I don't know if there's anyone that would be affected by this variance more than myself, and from what I understand, there isn't. And I do approve the variance or recommended. I am positive for it. Now, if it was not approved, I don't think it would help his family very much. I think it's detrimental. If it is approved, it does not hurt the town very much. And in fact, I don't think it does at all. Now, I'd like to point out that if, for example, someone had a problem with the variance such that the house would be too close to the street, if that were the case, by appearances only, this hedge that is there is more than high enough to cover any appearance that could possibly be bothered by. So, if it was going to be approved under a condition, perhaps the condition could be that the hedge must remain so that the appearance only is not distractible. So that is my recommendation. I, again, state that I do variance.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wish to speak?
do have some public comments virtually as well. To notify the board.
For this meeting, my name is Martin Wischelbeck, living at 5 Engel Drive.
Yes.
Again, position. As a council, the town council puts ordinances forward in conjunction with planning and zoning. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make uniform decisions for this town, uniform code that applies to everybody. The questions that come in front of the variance board are very, very clear. Have a very strict mandate as to what you should and should not approve. And to the questions is, are there other options? Yes, there are. Second story is another option. It is definitely viable. This town has seen plenty of second story additions. We've seen plenty of second story buildings. In fact, every building that is coming forward today is a second story building. So within a short period of time, as this building ages, this will become an irrelevant structure as a single story building. Did it exist before? Yes, it did. In 2018, when the applicant bought this property, bought a single story home, he bought it with 2,450 square feet or 2,460 square feet. He has now a need for a bigger house. I understand that, I sympathize with that. It is not this board that needs to relieve the increasing family members that he's adding to his family. I'm happy for you, and congratulations, but this board has a very strict mandate, and that mandate is you need to uphold these laws. One of the most important things, this addition is a gigantic addition to you go from 2,400 square feet to what looks like at least a 500-600 square foot addition. You're adding massive square footage here to this property. And that in 100 square feet into the town's right of way. Absolutely unnecessary. There is other options for it. That is why you should definitely bring down this particular application. Most important, because this is a two-part application. This is one for the addition that encroaches into the town right of way, and it's also a parking addition. The town has passed an ordinance that requires parking space. Parking spaces for each bedroom, because each bedroom will be a car eventually. When this family grows up, 18 years from now, these kids are going to be driving. 16 years from now, these kids are going to be driving. They will need a car. They will have a car. Where are you going to put the car? And mom's car and dad's car. That's why we have passed this code. It is absolute. If this gets basically thrown out the window here, you're opening up for everybody else to come in front of you and say, you know what? I don't want to build an additional garage. Why should I? To approve this. This is setting a precedent that you should definitely vote down. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I do have some people that are virtually that would like to take a public comment. People participating virtually, I have unmuted the public. Please speak up to state your public comment. Meantime, I have also received comment from Terry Brown, Harbor Drive South. Carla kindly share the following comments regarding this variance request with the appropriate audience and ensure that they will be included in the permanent record for any future action. Although it has been so some years ago, my analysis reflects my 10 years experience service of the Town Board of Adjustment. The hardship legally required support of variance is based on the nature or contours of the property. The application for a variance in this case is not based on the nature nor contour of the lot. The proposed new master bedroom can immediately be constructed without violating the setback and without requiring a variance as a second story addition. The applicant does not want to add a second story because it would be a more intense project as well as more expensive. But a financial hardship is legally insufficient to support a variance, nor is the style preference a legally sufficient hardship. The proposed room addition could be added without violating the setback. It would just be a smaller room, or the den could be removed from the consideration. In a related issue, I could not find mention in the plans regarding the need for an increase in the septic system capacity with the additional bedroom and waste outlet. He also asked me to note that on the survey it says Harvard Drive South instead of Island Drive. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak virtually?
Oh,
No, there is one person. Joanne? Can you hear us?
I can speak. This is Zoanne Hennigan, 91 Island Drive South. I would like to support the comments that Betty Bingham stated, which I know was hard for some people to hear, as well as Commissioner Bishalak. The Planning and Zoning Board, I don't think there's anybody here from Planning and Zoning, but they have worked really, really hard to define things like setbacks and parking structures for the good of our town, to keep it, nice and consistent, and with some rules that apply to everyone, that they try to be as fair and equitable as they possibly can. And part of, and I don't know if we've really discussed, with the Board of Adjustments, but that there shouldn't really be a financial implication, but if there's a structural issue, that's one thing. But in listening to some of the issues, there's, the family clearly has some personal design or, some personal issues that they'd like to address, which I think the town is always very sympathetic to. But as was stated by, I couldn't tell who was speaking on behalf of the owner, but it is the owner's choice. And to give a variance for this, it creates a very dangerous precedent after working tirelessly to create these ordinances. And once you open the door for a personal desire, it opens the door for lots of people to ask for variances for these personal desires. So even though people around say it's okay, I think it's okay, I don't think that's the purpose of the Board of Adjustments. It's nice that the residents around say that it's okay, but as a Board of Adjustments, it's good to listen to those things, but we need to look at what's in the best interest of the town. And as Commissioner Vrslak also said, parking is another component of this, but even just talking now about the bedroom, I think it's really important to have to, unfortunately, to recommend to deny this appeal. I'm done.
Anyone else?
can I make another statement?
Betty wants to talk.
Can I make another statement? This is Betty Bingham.
Go ahead, Dave.
One of the things that also crossed my mind in my notes is, if they put this addition on, they're going to need another air conditioner. Is that air conditioner going to go into their neighbor's bedroom window? Thank you.
Okay, Betty, thank you. I'll make it short. I disagree with the request for the variance on basically most of the points that we've heard from, and again, on the fact that the ordinance are placed there for a reason, and they're crafted with a lot of time and effort. Our town is made up of a ton of non-conforming lots where there's always going to be some kind of issue. And constant requests, and I'm concerned about this. I just,
Make a comment.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ross Bloom. In my mind that I think I was very special, so thanks for showing up. The reason for that room is I don't have 5 kids. Very clear. The more space I have in that master, the safer I will be. I do understand everyone's concerns. Trying to, how they say, accomplish, bringing space for my family. So, whatever you guys want to do, good.
Thank you. Other public comments? Staff will now make final comments if necessary.
No comment, sir.
No comment. The applicant will now make final comments.
I just wanted to. Someone earlier did say something about this 2.5 feet flood elevation. That's to my knowledge, that is right at the defined flood elevation that's required, and our size of this project is going to be below substantial improvement, so there will be no elevation height required to be. And any normal elevation, that they accomplish that would be or level of from that flood. However, because at the time of building, the building official decides that yes, maybe at 7, not 6, that's not an issue. Someone also came up and spoke on behalf of the public that said this should absolutely be a second story, and that's an option. So, the second story is not an option. Property, any second story addition on this property would cause it, the cost would more than 50% value of the house, and that would be, that's not the addition, and you're not doing that size of a project. It is a structurally sound house, there's absolutely no issues, it should live for quite a long time. Other thing is every home, Ocean Ridge, has the right to request a variance. It is a minor variance, only a 6% increase to the entire lot coverage of the house, and as we showed in statements previously, right now the house has slightly understated low maximum lot coverage, and when we request this addition, we will still only be at 26 when we're allowed to be at 36, and it's still average compared to all the other houses in the area. Well, actually, based on this study, we listed like 6 or 7 or 8 houses that had variance lot coverage. Again, to go back over those, so the property at Marlin Drive, 116 Marlin Drive has a 33 maximum lot coverage, 123 Marlin Drive has 20, 125 has 33, 120 has 24% lot coverage, and property at 129 has 24 max coverage. We are asking for 26, which still makes it a very average area. This is not a use addition. The total addition under AC is 8, which includes the master bedroom, bathroom, closet, and sitting area. That's the standard construction in new houses and master suites. 138 square feet for a small porch to go outside. Need covered areas to go outside in this area because we're in Florida and it's very hot. That's all. About parking. As far as the existing two-car garage closed. It's only five inches short in width. That just happens how the house was built. So when they're saying that there needs two spots inside the garage, the city's requirements are for 10 by 20 spots. So it would just be one of the spots can't be 10 by, it would have to be by. That's the only part of this variance that concerns the garage. That's an as-built. Parking otherwise is sufficient for 5 bedrooms. There are 2 spots in the garage and 3 in the driveway. So it's not in. And again, we're only asking for a 6 for the total lot coverage. We've also stated that the property line conditions are unique on corner lots. This would not be an issue if it were an interior lot, as well. Also, it's not the inside of the house that we're asking for the variance for. It is the front corner of the house that's being affected by this side setback. The planning reviewer for this has reviewed the project. And in this case, other than the 5 inches short in width of the garage, parking is not an issue. For Betty B, there is no additional AC added, only replacing the outside house, and it will be covered with when somebody has any.
Any members of the board have any questions for staff, the applicant, or anyone else who has spoken on this item? I have a question for you. How many vehicles are parked in the driveway overnight? And the reason I ask this is I've driven by the property several times and noticed vehicles in the driveway. How many vehicles are there overnight?
That should be the owner and his wife's vehicle.
I'll answer that question. So vehicles that are parked over.
Are those 2 black vehicles?
There's a new vehicle that was just purchased. Okay. There's my wife's sort of cargo van for all my kids. Those are the 2 vehicles that are parked overnight. At a given time recently, overlapped a week, purchased, wife's existing. So I also have in-laws, parents, frequently visit. I like to spend the evening when my wife and I are gone. To answer your question.
Any other questions from the board? I would give it a gavel. And I now declare this crazy judicial hearing closed. We will now proceed with comments and deliberation by the board. Anyone on the board have a comment?
I would like to make,
Can't hear you.
hi Betty. I would like to make a comment on the garage and the parking. The garage, from all the documents, 5 inches short in the code, calls for 2 parking places interior, 10 by 20, which would be a 400 square foot. The existing garage, as I can tell, is like 450. And I believe that from planning and zoning discussion, ordinance like the 10 by 20 was adopted because it was what architects normally. But then there's 3 spots plotted out in the driveway. The exterior dimensions only have to be like 9 by 8. I guess I'm saying that 5-inch shortage in the garage, to move a wall, to move roof line, 5 inches, to me does not seem, and still support, planning and zoning and the intent is to be able to have on-site parking or a car for every bedroom, or to have a 2-car garage. That's my comment on it.
Any other comments by the board members? I will now entertain a motion for item number 5. I'm hearing none.
Are you voting?
Yes,
Hello?
someone needs to make a motion.
I move that we reject this application for a variance.
Okay, so your motion is to deny the application for the 2 variances for 127 Marlin Drive. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Can we separate them? I'm sorry, Betty. Can we separate them? Are they?
I mean, you may want to ask, is there a need, I guess I'm looking at Corey O'Gorman, is there a need to grant one variance for, if the other variance is not granted for the bedroom, is there a need to grant the other variance? I guess the way I was looking at it, it seemed like you had to grant the variance for the garage in order for the bedroom variance to install another bedroom for that to comply.
That's correct, yes.
Yes, okay.
Well, I guess my question is, if they come back with a different design that doesn't require a variance, then.
Well, I see what you mean. If they come back for another bedroom that doesn't require a variance for that, but they would still need a variance for the garage, I guess. Is that correct, Corey?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so that's the reason you're asking if you can split them up. Right.
They already paid for a variance.
And then if this is denied, there is a time restriction on when they would be able to come back. You are correct.
Is Betty's motion for both the variance on the garage and the bedroom?
Yes.
Okay, and we have a second.
Well, no,
We don't?
not yet. You don't have a second yet on that.
Okay,
Sorry, I've had dinner.
I'll second it.
Can we get clarification if they're gonna be divided before we second?
Our motion was to deny both variants.
So that's what we want.
That's it. And there was a second.
I will do roll call for voting.
Now, and just to clarify, the motion is to deny both variances. Okay, so everyone understands.
Yes, there was a motion on the floor by Member Bingham to deny both variances and a seconded by Member Chair Sloat. I will now do a roll call. Member Bingham?
Betty?
What, you vote? Hello? Hello?
How do you vote on the motion?
I vote yay to deny it.
You vote yes then, is that correct, Betty?
That's correct.
Member, can you point of clarification?
Down the garage and the bedroom, we then come back, separate them out.
No, you cannot. So if this motion passes, it's done. So if you don't want this motion, if you want to take into account the issue that Member Jola raised, then you would, need to vote no. And so that way, then you can come back with another motion. If everyone understands.
Member Cody, how do you vote on the motion?
No.
Member Hinton?
No.
Member Doa?
No.
Chair Slow?
Yes.
Okay, so that motion fails. So is there another motion?
I make a motion, do I need to make a motion to separate the two?
No, you can't. I mean, if you want to, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to make a motion to deny the side setback, and Corey, make sure I'm saying this correctly, to deny the motion encroaching into the corner side setback going 10 feet, 11.5 inches, to deny that, but to approve the variance for the garage reduction to 19.7 inches, you can make a motion like that.
Brian, is there an option to make a motion
Okay, that's a good motion.
to oversee another plan?
Well, I mean, and when you say see another plan, because depending on what they want to do, I don't know if this would ever need to come back. And then the question is, okay, how long do you defer it? Because that's, well.
Brian, I also have a question. If, for example, they were to separate it out and approve the, garage dimensions, however, they decide to go back and knock the home down and just rebuild, wouldn't that then that variance at that moment become null and they would have to construct the new town code?
You can put that as a condition on the variance, which is, and maybe that's the way you want to do it if you, it may be better if you separate out the motions, and then we'll deal, if you want to deny the variance for the bedroom, and then we'll get into conditions on the garage to, if you want to approve that, to maybe allow a certain time period for the construction to begin or take place, and then that this is only applicable to this exact structure here, that it does not run with the land if the structure changes shape. Because otherwise, if you're granting the variance, these normally run with the land, and so I don't think you want to have that in place.
Are we talking about the variance for the garage or for the bedroom?
I think we're talking about putting conditions, possibly, if you all want to, on the one for the garage.
That's okay. I go along with that. But not.
So I don't know.
Are we going to vote for the variance for the bedroom first or the garage first?
Well, it depends on who makes a motion, and so you may want to. I'm looking at Member Joe. You may want to separate out those motions. Okay, so then you want to make a motion, I guess, to deny the variance for the encroachment of the bedroom into the setbacks. Is that correct? Okay, so that's your motion. Then I guess is there a second for that motion?
I'll
and that's
second
to
that
deny
motion.
the variance. Okay.
I'll
So there is
second
a
that
second.
motion.
You kindly read the motion for us?
Yes, so I have, a motion on the floor from Member Doa. We move to deny the variance of the proposed addition, seconded by Member Bingham.
No.
Now I will do roll call.
And that's for the bedroom addition, not for the,
Proposed
okay,
addition.
correct, okay.
Member Bingham, how do you vote on the motion?
Yay.
Member Cody, how do you vote on the motion?
Nay.
Member Doa? Okay. Member Hinton?
Yay.
Chair Slow?
Yay. You read the vote count, please.
Motion passes 4-2-4-2-1.
So now do you want to discuss, I guess, if there are conditions on the garage to approve that, but I guess what I'm kind of hearing to only allow it to be specific to this structure, and do you want to have a certain time frame where it would be applicable?
Well, if the garage is already constructed that way, do they need to even apply a time limit?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, for the construction of a possible another bedroom, and maybe that's where, I don't know if we want to ask the applicant a question of, you can understand what we're discussing, and is there any thought about constructing a bedroom that fits within the setbacks, but not, where I think you would still have to meet you would still have to get the variance for the garage size, correct,
Right.
Corey? Okay. So is there a thought process that you may go forward with that? If there's not, then we can dispense with all of this.
So, try to keep this as formal as possible. So we have multiple plans that we develop. In my mind, that's the symmetry of the whole. That's why we requested variance. Garage, I can't do anything. Yes, there are other.
Okay, I mean, the question is, because if you want to add another bedroom, you're going to need to get the variance for the garage.
Correct.
So
Yes, I want to add another bedroom.
Okay, so
and I want the variance for the garage.
Okay. So it seems like the applicant wants to, I guess there is some thought process as far as what Member Joa had kind of indicated earlier, where do we want to possibly grant a variance for the, I guess, is there a time frame that you have in mind regarding?
Yesterday.
Okay. So then you're just waiting you've got to go through the normal process of building permits and all of that.
So let me just be clear. I thought that this was going to be the most appealing for the neighborhood. So I'm 6 months behind trying to get this variance request. Again, I understand everyone's concern, but in my mind, I was trying to be sensitive to ultimately, I would think, the least obstructive sort of way we're trying to project. So this was the request. The application was done incorrectly. COVID happened, so time is gone, right? I was ultimately trying to do this before my fourth child was going to be born, October 1st. At this point, that's never going to happen. So life's going to be fun for the next however many months we've gotten to have in front of us. So yes, again, for me, I was thinking about the neighborhood. I wasn't thinking about just myself. So I have other plans. They all fit within the setback. Only variance I would need, garage, which was built in 1970 whatever, before I was born, and that's what I'm dealing with. So yes, I'd like a variance request for the garage.
And I guess,
Please.
just to help the board out, I guess, Corey, do you have, or Manny, do you all have any, or even Tracy, any recommendation on a time frame that if the board were to grant a variance, how long that variance should stay in effect until, would the proper language to be until a building permit is granted, and then you fall into the building permit timelines, or is there another time frame that you would, or another criteria you would have? And this is for the bedroom that triggers the need for the variance.
I think the building permit would be fine, at least in my opinion, and a year.
Okay, a year in order to get the building permit,
Right.
because we're talking about to obtain the building permit and
Right.
do that. So the variance would be in place for a year, and then if the building permit application is not approved within that 1 year period, then the variance becomes null and void. Is
Right.
that okay.
Yes.
That's the time frame that I think staff would be recommending to the board, is a 1 year period in order to apply for in order to obtain the permit to construct the bedroom.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, I have 1 year that this variance request is open.
Yes.
During that period of time, I request permit. Approved, circle back, stamp approved, begin to work. Okay.
Right.
And if you miss that one, at that, depending on whatever time frame they put in and whatever their vote is, but if you miss whatever that time frame is, then the variance becomes null and void, and you would have
Who
to.
has the application in this room?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that
You know
helps
what?
with
Let
anything.
me just throw this out there. Based upon COVID, and I request 2 years, I have no idea what the new norm is gonna be like. I have no idea what ultimately my children, where they're gonna be going to school. I don't, there's so much uncertainty. So I'd rather give myself 2 years, just so you guys know, I'm gonna click on this, but just in case.
Well, just so we're clear, I think I understand that, we're just talking about the year is just until approval of the
Permit, that's it,
permit,
not construction, just
No,
apply.
I'm with you, but my
Yeah.
issue is, this process has taken, like, in my mind, a century, way too long, not due to anyone's intention or action here, due to what we're dealing with. So I'm just saying, again, if the world shuts down again, I'm, in that period of time, I can't even apply for a permit, and everyone's virtual, so it just, I don't have control over that.
My experience, permitting seems to be going fine with some respects, but it is slightly delayed. So if let's say if the septic system got delayed in the county, which is very normal, it's extra delayed now. So I suggested that he ask for that as standard with other, boards such as.
or can we do it permit application?
What's that?
That would be fine also, because we have not developed the construction drawings, we developed all of this, but this is actual structural, so we design a little bit. We need time for that, but also just in people are working remotely, and so sometimes they're very fast, and then sometimes there can be quite a bit of delays.
I mean, my suggestion is that you give them the time to get an approved permit, because, not saying they would, but people can submit something to meet the time frame that's, on the back of a napkin, so, right.
I will. Help me.
Okay, I guess you're thinking about making a motion to approve the variance for the garage, to approve the garage variance, subject to the conditions that an approved permit application from the town be issued within a 1-year period of the date of this hearing, and that this variance only applies to the current configuration, or that a permit application for another bedroom, let me put it that way, for another bedroom be granted within a 1-year period, and that the variance only applies to the current configuration of the house, excluding the possible addition of the bedroom. Does that sound right, Corey? I mean, is that something that, okay. Because my concern would be, I don't want them, coming in and changing a bunch of stuff and then saying, oh, okay, now we can apply, now we have this variance in place or whatever.
I was just wondering about the,
Oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
let's go with the.
okay, so then your motion is to approve the garage variance subject to a completed permit, or a permit application be granted to the applicant within a period of 18 months from the date of the hearing, and that the other condition is that it is based upon the current configuration of the home, excluding whatever addition, the extra addition of the bedroom might entail, something like that. Is that, I don't know if you can figure out a better way to say it, because I'm trying to say it in such a way when you're looking at it, okay, yes, they approved this is what their thought was.
Oh, I think that sounds good.
That's my motion.
Okay.
Second to the motion? I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor from Member Gilroy to approve the garage variance subject to the condition that the applicant gets a permit application within of 18 months, the date of a hearing, based upon the current configuration of the home, excluding the proposed additional bedrooms.
Right, now the permit application is the permit application for the extra bedroom. So it's not just any it's for that extra bedroom.
And seconded by Member Hinton. Okay, Member Tatum, how do you vote on this motion? Member Bingham, how do you vote on this motion?
I vote yay for that.
Vice Chair Cody?
Yay.
Member Hinton?
Yay.
Member Joa? Yay. Chair Slow?
Passes 5-0. Okay, thank you, and let's get to the second application. Sorry, whatever.
An application submitted by Alexander and Dolores Spitzer as owner for a parcel of property located at 25 Hudson Avenue, Ocean Ridge, Florida, 33435, requesting a variance from provision of land development code, chapter 54, zoning, article 3, district regulations, section 54-60, location of exterior residential equipment and accessories. Subsection C, permanent generator regulations permit the installation of a permanent generator in the front yard that will also encroach into the side setback. The property is located at 25 Hudson Avenue and legally described as Hudson Avenue, Estate Lot 1. All the fees have been paid, and I did receive a comment from a property within 300 feet of this subject property. Marguerite Lucas, 27 Hudson Ave. Dear board members, please be advised that the Lucas family is located at 27 Hudson Avenue, approves of the variance application submitted by the Spitzer. Our property will be the most impacted by the generator location, which proposed location is not only approved by us, but preferred since it is significant distance from where our house is located. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to speak to you.
This time, any ex parte communication should either be disclosed by identifying the subject of the communication, the attendee of the person, group, or entity whom the communication took place, or any correspondence be provided to the town clerk and be part of the public record. In addition, each member of the board may identify the existence of any investigation or the site visit he or she has conducted, or any expert opinions received, and disclose conflict of interest in the matter.
If any member has any ex parte communication, please say no for the record. No.
With the hearing on this matter, will the town clerk please swear in witness?
Will anyone wishing to speak on this item, please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? When you come forward, please state your name and address clearly for the record and whether or not you have been sworn in. And please speak directly into the microphone.
That special conditions and circumstances exist which any, the land, structure, or buildings involved, and which are not applicable to other land structures or buildings in the same zoning district.
The applicant stated, A, section 64-50, A and C of the Ocean Ridge Code of Ordinance requires that permanent generators not be placed on the front yard and meet the required setback of 10 feet from the property line. Following our on-site meeting with RCB Electric with regard to a proposed purchase of a 22 kW generator, we contacted the town to speak to the appropriate parties to expedite approval for the above reference. Manuel Palacios, Ocean Ridge zoning official, met with us to survey our proposed site for the generator, and given the constraints of our property, came to the following conclusions. The only suitable location is the front of our property along the eastern side boundary with our neighbor driveway. The site would be shielded from the street by mature clusia and photocarpus trees that are already in place. If necessary, we would be happy to provide additional shielding. Mr. Palacios noted that the backyard is not feasible location due to the sewage/septic cans in the system leaching field. 2. Separating our properties is a border fence paralleling part of our neighboring driveway. As you can see from the drawing, if approved, in order for the placement to comply with the minimum of 10 foot distance from the buried propane tank, the generator would be approximately 3 to 4 feet from the border fence on our property and approximately 10 feet from our neighbor paved driveway. As Mr. Palacios cited, this installation would cause the least amount of disruption to our property and most importantly would cause little to no noise disruption to our neighbor whose house is set back far from this location, 27 Hudson Ave. FYI, we have already received approval from Dr. and Ms. Emmanuel Lucas of 27 Hudson Ave for the generator replacement and they would be happy to provide written permission. 3. Mr. Palacios was quite familiar with our property, having done the original service for all 3 of our developers' property located at Hudson Avenue, 25, 26, and 27, and the Intercoastal. He knew immediately the site difficulties and concluded that the site we are proposing is the place the generator should be situated and was supportive of the location. We believe the proposed location of the generator will comply with and be consistent with the purposes of Section 63-2 of the Code of Ordinances.
That special conditions, circumstances do not result from the action of the applicant.
The size of the lot and placement of structures, buried propane tank, sewage tank, and leaching fields were located by the builder/developer and not as a result of any actions or inactions of the applicant.
The granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by the zoning ordinance to other lands, buildings, or structures in the same zoning district.
The applicant stated, the granting of the variance to the applicant will, to the best of our knowledge, not grant any special privileges denied to others under similar circumstances.
The liberal interpretation of the provisions of the ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of the ordinance and would work unnecessarily and undue hardship on the applicant.
The applicant stated, the variance is necessary to properly situate the generator. The applicants are now year-round residents, each are 74 years of age, and Dolores Spitzer has a compromised immune system due to previous breast cancer, which requires our self-quarantine until there is either a preventive vaccine or therapeutic to help cure the virus. The generator becomes quite necessary, especially during hurricane season. So we are applying for this variance in the hopes that approval could be reached ASAP. If not approved, a serious hardship to our family might result if a power failure occurs for an extended period of time.
That the variance granted is the minimum variance that will make it possible for the reasonable use and building or structure.
The variance requested would be minimum necessary to properly situate the generator.
That the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent of the purpose of the ordinance.
The applicant stated the granting of the variance would be in harmony with the general intent of the town ordinance, in particular section 63-2, providing safety, limiting noise to neighbors, and visually shielding the generator from the public street view.
The variance will not be injurious to the area involved or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare.
The applicant stated granting the variance will in no way be injurious to the area and will provide safety at the location and further from the windows of the house and neighbors.
town staff will now make its presentation.
Mr. Chairman, Corey O'Gorman, Town Planner. The application is for installation of a permanent generator at 25 Hudson. The town code prohibits generators from being located in the front, side, or rear yard and requires that they meet setbacks of accessory structures. And Section 6441 requires accessory structures meet those setbacks of the principal building, which include 25 in the front yard, 15 in the side, 15 in the rear, and 25 along the waterway. The applicant's evaluated options and has concluded the only feasible location is as shown on the application. We'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
At this time, any other member of the public who wishes to submit relevant information to the town commission may come forward and speak for a maximum of 3 minutes each. Please indicate whether you are for or against the project, or either for or against the project.
The applicant. You may want to ask them first.
I'm sorry, applicant. I missed it. You come forward.
My name is Alex Spitzer. Thank you very
Question.
much for hearing our application.
Where are tanks usually put if you can't put them in the front, side, or rear?
Betty, the applicant is presenting right now. The chair will come back to you
Oh,
for.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Good morning to the board. Good morning to everybody. Thank you so much for hearing our application. I have some additional materials here that give a better idea exactly where the generator coverage application says we have substantial trees and bushes shield the application generator from the street, and the generator is going to be at least 33 feet from the street. We want to put as a condition of the generator maintaining the shield or adding more bushes or shield. That would be fine. That's all I have to say. I appreciate hearing this. If you want to see my additional papers and things, it really shows the picture from the street.
We have it in the packet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, I'm Laura Spitzer. Thank you for hearing us. This is education for me. We spoken with Carla and asked if we needed to be here for the first meeting regarding the variance. Kindly recommended that we come in to see the dynamics. Very interesting. I just want to say personally that you're very aware and conscientious and respectful of the town code variances, and we are applying for this out of necessity, I feel, not for anything other than real necessity. We went through a lot, met with generator people, we met with the person that was up to it, and after consulting with these folks, the recommendation, this is really the best and practical only place that it could be done. Our neighbor, who's mostly impacted by it, Marguerite Lucas, actually wanted it there where it is with regard to their property, right? Almost part of their driveway, and their house is very set back from there, so it's not a noise consideration, it's not a unsightly thing as far as they're concerned. Our neighbors from across the street, which are not cited in this, they just got their part-time neighbors down from New York and New Jersey, asked them to come take a look at where we were proposing this so that they would be aware have any objection. Again, they would be the most, impacted by anything that we did with regard to the front. I know it's called front, but it's really the same side as where all the other equipment is. There's just no room where the other equipment is to build it there. This property, and the developer built everything and was approved by agency people. Very tight, very, very tight. We haven't done anything to change it in any way, just very tight. What we decided and what was told to us is the best place to put it is right at all front, but there's sewer, porta potty, fuchsia and porta potty trees surrounding the whole thing, and it would not be in any way unsightly from anybody walking by, driving by, walking into our driveway. It just won't be. So, I would appreciate any consideration, and thank you again.
Now, anyone from federal public wish to speak?
First of all, it's a beautiful home.
Thank you.
It's one of those homes that I walk by, my daughter very often. I have my reservations with it. Again, we're getting to other options. Brian, correct me if I'm wrong here. Did we have an ordinance about the generators being allowed in the side setbacks? But I remember, there was at least a discussion at one point that we wanted to, the 15-foot setback, we wanted to regulate that generators can be placed in a 15-foot setback if they are away from those windows and if they're away from the neighboring property line by 10 feet or something.
And, town planner or Manny would be better suited to answer, but I know something that there might be regulation that if they can prove that they can't put in the setback, it goes down to 5 feet, the setback requirement, then at that time, but they will be below that 5 feet, is my understanding.
That's correct, yeah, very, under section 6450, it does give you. Manny Palacios, zoning officer for the town. And there's a section 6460, 6450C that does, my glasses, I'm sorry. 6450C, permanent generators. And it does state permanent generators shall meet or exceed the setbacks required for accessory structures. But then it does go on to say that one permanent generator shall be allowed in a required side or rear yard, provided it is set back at a minimum of 5 feet from the property line. That's just, it can't be placed anywhere else. And this comes into play.
Yeah, and even in this case, they're below that 5 feet.
Right, and also they're in the front yard, but yes, to answer your question, we had talked about it, doing something with the generators, because I think well, for lack of a better term, I imagine there's probably some generators in town that may not comply with the, current code sections here, and so that's the reason we had talked about it, but I can't remember, for whatever reason, it didn't really go forward. I'm not sure if it was bundled with something else, but yet there was discussion, to answer your question, yes.
So whatever decision the board comes to, I would like to ask you as the board to make a recommendation to also kick this back to and actually discuss the item further to strengthen the code, because I believe that I agree with them. It's the most logical location for the generator. But it's just not allowed in the code, so what do? Technically, what we really need to do is we need to look at our code and actually discuss why we have this in the code, why do we require it not to be in the front, and why shouldn't we require it to be in the front? Because to me, personally, it's actually the most logical choice for the generator. It's the furthest distance to the neighboring property, which is across the street, instead of putting it in a side setback where he sits next to the neighbor's house. But that is a P&Z question, and then ultimately a commission question, pass an ordinance to make this more clear. If it's not possible to put it in the side setback, which would be on the south side of the house, and then again, this house is very unique because the front of the house is really technically the side of the house. So it's very convoluted situation, and it's still to the max. I guess would not comply base code anymore. I'm just asking you to please, when you kick it back also to P&Z and to the commission that this needs for future, so we don't have more applicants that need to come forward.
Carla, I have a question. Are all of the ordinances that the town commission approved in the past since the beginning of the fiscal year, have those been codified?
They have, and also the generator, and I believe that was last year, there was a lot of issues with it, and it didn't move forward.
So let me ask you a question. Is it possible to table this until we get a recommendation from P&Z?
I guess even if you all gave direction, I guess, can you table it? I think there's something in here that I don't know if there was a time limit on tabling. Okay, here, an application may be continued or postponed at the request of the applicant or the board by a majority vote, but the public hearing shall be concluded within 60 days after the first date of the public hearing. I can tell you now, 60 days is not going to be enough time in order for this to go to P&Z, to get a recommendation from them, to go to the town commission for 2 readings. So I understand what you're looking at, but you would run afoul of what's allowed in your code.
Anyone else on the public have any statement?
I have also unmuted all the public participating virtually. If you want to make a public comment, just please speak up.
Susan Hurlbert, 5111 North Ocean Boulevard. It is an interesting concept here because we did dance around the whole generator for a long time, and because basically do things that we generators and they're available. I'm in the same position where I live. I can't have them all come out there. So how do we figure this out? 60 days is not going to do a thing. Y'all are looking for a generator. I'm looking for you guys to come up with something that will help it take forward with. Again, we set the precedent. Everybody in town who has no room for it, during it as well, and that's coming up with. So, in between, what are the other options for not having a generator? Battery packs, the rentals, the portable generators, other options. I'm neutral on it because I don't like the idea of variants. Storm time. So, y'all are here, put your heads together and come up with something that's fast track or amendment. I don't know. I really don't know, right?
This board would not be able to
They would
do
be
that
able to.
because they're not
charged. They're not going to
with
be able to make any codes, any enforcements, any possibilities.
P&Z is charged with that, the board
Right.
is not.
I can ideas here. I mean, this is a discussion that's probably, don't have it now, it's gonna be coming, right? This is something that's going to come.
But we can also put it on the commission agenda. Question item, I could put it on the agenda to discuss the spot letter.
And also put it on the meeting for the next meeting. Possibly. That's practice. I do think, this timing is everything. It's just going to be, we gotta get it right.
And just to comment on that, even though, I mean, if you would approve it or not approve it, I'm not so sure that there would be a precedent set, because every application you look at is very specific to the specific set of circumstances that is before you. So, you know, most homes, they vary in size, shape, all those other things. So just a quick comment on that.
I have a question to ask staff. Mark indicated that there were other areas on the property that generator could be placed, but in exhibit B1, under the statement, the only place, let's look at exhibit B1, so there's conflict. Yeah, the only suitable location is the front of our property along the eastern side boundary with our neighbor's driveway. So, what's the conflict here from the petitioner's act and the Marshall?
Mr. Chairman, it appears from the survey of the property that, with the exception of the western side of the existing home, the generator would require a setback in any of the yards. Perhaps the applicant could speak to why it can't be located to the west of the building, but the home is at the setback for the 15 feet to the south property line. The application talks about the location of the septic tank and drain field behind the home. The 25-foot setback is met along the north property line. So at least within the context of those three portions of the yard, a variance would be necessary regardless.
I just wanted to, in examining the entire property around the entire house, there's, I guess, one thing, very cursory review of the codes and regulations, and a generator can't be within a certain windows. There are a lot of windows in this house, a lot of glass sliding doors. So as we circle the house, we're not only confronted with septic sewage waste system that's there, but windows everywhere. So they're lovely. We got a great view. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that it limits us tremendously as to where, and as we circle the house, very important, it's close to the neighbor's house. So this is not close to anybody's house. Close to the driveway, far from their house actually. Our neighbors behind us, they're looking at the front of our house, it is like the side of our house. Theirs is set way back. You don't see their house from Hudson Avenue. That's why they said they prefer with it, is because then it's not even a question of them hearing anything. Our neighbors from across the street, which we just showed to, said absolutely no problem, because they're not going to see it or hear it. It really is most suitable and recommended place by your inspectors. So I just wanted to clarify that with regard to windows.
I wanted to add that once again, the location will be completely shielded from view from the street at any angle. And the location is about 33, 32 feet from the street itself. I have more pictures to show you. It's also a location, my wife said, it's going to be furthest from any of the windows of our neighbors or our own house. So it's really ideal. deal. And what I'd like, we're asking for two variances, I guess. One, the front yard, one from the side setback. So, I would appreciate, if you can't grant them both, please grant one of those.
I have a question. When they split this lot, this piece of land east to west, why didn't they make the front yards facing one another instead of one front yard facing the backyard? And what keeps where this driveway comes in from being the backyard of this house? Did I make myself clear? Hello?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Mr. Alex Bistergan, we didn't build the house, it was already built, and so was the one behind us, number 27. So I have no idea why they designed it. I think somebody said it's unclear exactly what yard is the front yard, other than the yard we're talking about is the one that has to face the street. It's really a side yard, in many respects.
Any other members of the board have I have a few comments. When I first started reviewing this, my initial knee-jerk reaction was, I don't think generators in front yards benefit Ocean Ridge. But this is such an unusual orientation of a house lot, and it really is a unique situation. That front's not the front, the front's the side, and the side's the front, and the location, the foliage and whatnot. I don't think it's a visual detriment. I truly believe that alternative power supplies are becoming less of an option and more of necessity, especially in our location. This may be an interim gap, hopefully with future technology and science, houses will be built with alternative power supplies built into the foundation or whatever that generates power for the grid during the day and gives it back at night or whatever. So, but we have to deal with the interim situation. Everything considered, I think this is the least invasive on town and the least invasive on the neighbor. But I would also strongly recommend a review from planning and zoning to find some more permanent solution to this. Other from the board.
I think it comes down to a safety. You have a big investment in a home, you have investment in health. The way the property is situated, you have the buffer of the neighbor's driveway. And it wasn't indicated where the electrical tower goes in. I was vetted from that side also.
Correct.
And the propane is there, so running propane lines, electric. Can I make a comment? I know there has been talk about shielding this from view. Perhaps that is and that it remains shielded forever.
Isn't that also part of the code though, that it has to be shielded? Would that be a condition even though it's part of the code?
I'd say let's have it as a condition that it be shielded from the public right of way and any adjacent neighbors.
The one in barking.
About noise.
Okay.
A minimal
It's my understanding that would be through the permitting process that it has to meet our noise, yes.
If I can say, there's a decibel level that's required, but these new generators now all meet that. I don't know. At the permitting process, that'll be looked at, but there are minimum decibel levels that have to be met, but these new generators now all meet that requirement. That's it.
I now declare this quasi-judicial hearing closed. We will now proceed with comments and deliberations by the board. Any comments by the board? If not, do I hear entertain a motion for item number 6?
I'll make that.
If I can, before you do, what is the side setback requirement? Because do you want to allow 3 feet? I mean, I think we would probably need specifics.
But that at the permitting process would also be required. There's a minimum, the first sketch of this requires, 3 feet from the structure, allow for movability, and then also the 10 feet requirement from any kind of opening, window or doors.
So I know, but what I'm getting at is where it talks about it can be located in the front yard, and then within 10 feet of the side property line, it says closer to 3. Is there any more specifics you can add to that versus just saying it shall be located in the spot that is shown on the attachment? That's all I'm getting at. If you could add more stuff there, so that way we know exactly where it's
going to be.
That's right, or as close as possible.
Okay, we're looking as close as possible to the structure.
Well, no, I'm looking as what is the. I'm assuming this would be questions from the board. What is the minimum variance needed to allow this to occur?
So it's going to be the setback. We're looking at minimum variance from the setback. I think we have 2 setback issues there.
You got the front and the side. And it sounds like on the side, you want to go maybe not to exceed 3 feet into the side setback, or not to exceed 3 feet to the property line.
Right.
Okay, on the side. And then what about the front? Is there a thing on the front or?
Right now, I think they're 10.
The front meaning the side or?
I know. Yeah, from the roadway.
Hudson Avenue.
Right, from Hudson Avenue. And I don't know if you want to just say as shown on the attached diagram. If that's good enough for you all to make, to approve the permit, then that's okay. Okay.
So you're looking for a specific distance from the street and then from the driveway.
Yeah, well, from the property line, so that way we at least kind of know, but if that's the, as shown on the attached diagram, then, okay.
Just a minute, I'm fine with that.
To allow in the front yard and less.
And not to encroach any closer than 3 feet to the side, property line. And it must be shielded completely from the front yard and from any adjacent neighbors. Or shielded completely from the front from the side setback, or from the adjacent neighbors and from the roadway.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I make a motion to approve the variance for location of the generator, the front yard, and
I wouldn't use the term front yard.
I would probably just say as shown on the attached diagram.
Okay.
Issues of precedent.
Right, as shown on the attached diagram.
Or you're making the motion to approve the variance as presented, and for the location of the generator to be as shown on the attached diagram. However, in no event shall it be any closer than 3 feet to the property line, to the side property line, and that it be completely screened from view with landscaping from the roadway and from any adjacent neighbors.
I'll second that motion.
Yes.
There, she,
Yeah, just got a second.
okay.
Okay.
Member Bingham?
Aye.
Vice Chair Cody?
Yay.
Member Hinton? Member Dilla? Yay. Chair Cody?
Okay. That, and it says we need a discussion of meeting dates. Should we have a discussion?
Before that, do we have to make a motion to have this reviewed by planning and zoning?
Or, I guess, most direction, if you want to give direction, if it is the consensus of the majority of the board that this issue be reviewed by planning and zoning and by the town commission to, I'm assuming, to possibly accommodate future, or to see how we can rework the code to accommodate future locations of generators. Is that?
That'd be our recommendation.
So
I mean,
moved.
is there consensus?
I'll move
Okay.
that.
Okay, so there is a motion.
I'll move it. Yeah.
Second? Okay.
Member Bingham?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cody?
Yay.
Member Hinton?
Yay.
Member Dilla? Yay. Chair Sloat?
Yay.
Passes unanimously.
Okay, well, again, I don't know when we need another official. I don't know that we may not be an application for a variance. Last one was 2 years ago. So do we need an official meeting date, or should we just wait for the, every 2 years sounds good?
Yeah.
So it's not an official meeting date, but I think if we could set something in the records, that way we, when it's time to schedule a meeting, we at least know what guidelines to follow, like, let's say, hey, we're okay moving into the third Wednesday, for right now. So that way we have a guideline, because the issue with this one was we didn't have a chair, or a vice chair, at this moment, prior to this meeting. So that was an issue in scheduling as well.
We'd like to change it from the second Wednesday to the third Wednesday of the month so that our town attorney is able to attend.
I've got a conflict on the second Wednesdays of the month, and so that's why I'd asked Tracy if he could have this meeting for the third Wednesday, and then I don't think there's anything in the code that says it has to be on the second Wednesday, other than this is what you have always, even as infrequently as you meet, that's when you normally have it. So if there's consensus motion, just to say, okay, in the future, when people ask, we can say, well, it's the third Wednesday of the month is when this board normally meets.
I'll move that. We meet on the
I'll
third
second it.
Wednesday of the month.
And I'll second it.
Okay, roll call.
Member Bingham?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cody?
Yes.
Member Hinton?
Yay.
Member Dilla? Yay. Chair Sloat?
Yay. I want to thank members of the board. It was wonderful, supportive, and I would say this is work.
Thank you. Nice job, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, exactly. So, see you then, or talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, what,
Nice meeting.
Are we
do you want me to
adjourned?
cut this off, Carla?
Excuse me,
Okay.
are we adjourned?
Oh, yes, you are adjourned.
All right, thank you.
Next,
Thank you.